Hello. So, news from the tools. As always, just a run-through of what has happened in the last year, basically. Some things you might know, some things you have forgotten maybe, and something that is completely new and unseen before. Let's get started. Just real quick in agenda, we talk about growing project, checking project, run and deploy, basically. Q&A, let's see, but there's also like an expert table over there. I will announce that when we come to it. So first up is IntelliJ. You might not know or know it, that we have decent support for CDS language also in IntelliJ, powering the LSP protocol and our plugin for LSP. It's available on the marketplace, but there's some news also. So let's maybe open a CDS file here. I've already installed that for brevity. Is that legible? Yes. So basically, we have now reached par level with VS Code support for the CDS language in terms of all the editing features. You know, you can just like hover over things, get an explanation, and also like the CDS docs, right, that are attached to your entities, so to say. You can just click on it and jump to the definition. By the way, that's something new here. You see that structure view that is now filled, that wasn't there before. So we have now also the outline support available in the newest version. We do have like all the other support for like formatting that is available. We have on-the-fly formatting, so you can just type and it will nicely rearrange things as you type, so to say. So that's all there. Instead of like showing you all of that, I just ask you to check it out. It's available on the JetBrains marketplace, also on GitHub. But the really cool news is that, I mean, we have been asked for, hey, that's all nice, IntelliJ. By the way, who's using IntelliJ of you? Could you quickly show me hands as primary IDE? So I would say maybe like 10%-ish or so. Okay, cool. So why would we do that? We have a lot of like growing community also in the Java camp here and internally at the house, and there IntelliJ is the popular IDE. But there's also like WebStorm for JavaScript development. So it's quite a popular thing, so and worth the investment. But we've been asked, hey, it's cool, but I have to buy the ultimate edition of IntelliJ, and it's quite costly, you know, and we are like individual contributors or a little open source project or whatever, like small company, don't want to like buy everyone a license. And there's this community edition of IntelliJ of IDEA. So can you support that? And we found out there's actually community open source support for LSP, so the LSP client that can be plugged into the IDE, into the community IDE. And guess what? What you see here is the community edition. So that's already there with the version 2.0 of our plugin that will arrive at the marketplace, I think today or tomorrow or so. So right on time, we will support the community edition. So no need to really like buy the license unless you need all the features, right? It has, of course, lots of more features. But if you just are fine with the community editions, that's your way, and there's no more excuse of not using CDS language in IntelliJ, right? So that's IntelliJ. Let's jump over to VS Code and talk about CDS add. So add is one of our, has gotten one of our favorite tools and one of yours as well. So if you just type CDS add and you scroll up there, you get a big old list of things that are available, right? So, and that's my first advice to you. Just run through the list. So in case you want to bind to any BTP service and you're asking, how do I do that in the hell? So in hell, how would I do that? Integrate it into CAP. Check out whether there's a CDS add command for it available, because then your project is automatically augmented with that capability. It's not only for new projects, but also for existing projects, right? That's why it's called add, yeah? Not only init. So some of the things I would like to show you real quick is, well, first let's create a project, CDS init, or just call it reCAP, and maybe initialize that with a tiny sample. By the way, we also have shell completion, right, since last year. Let's maybe go with that. And then we have the project there. It should be there. It should be there unless I was in the wrong project. Okay, so I was in, yeah, so my shell freaked out. I need to do that really quick again. I think it's there. Demo. Okay, let me clean up the project I just created. Okay, and do that again because that should then show up in my workspace. Yes, it does. So what can we do? We can do CDS add handler. Because at the moment, you only get like a CDS file, and the next thing usually would do is just add a handler definition, and you would basically have to create a file with the same name, and then you remember the boilerplate structure of it, and that's what we can do out of the box if we're in the right folder. Here we go. And we automatically get a full-fledged, not a full-fledged, but a basic handler definition, right? And with all the, of course, a bit involved syntax, that's not so easy to remember, that's why. You might ask, hey, can Copilot do that? Like at least the latter part here. And if we now type in, you see, yes, it does it, kind of. But also not really, because that's an old thing from like 2 or 3 years back when the model was trained. You really see the past shining through here. And so that's why I still recommend, if there is a command, CDS command available, use it because it will give you the up-to-date best practice. Okay? So CDS add handler. Let's real quick crank up that project by adding a full-fledged sample, so the full-fledged bookshop, not only the tiny one, and you get really like an implementation for that specific model, of course. And one thing that is still missing is test support. So how do we do that, right? You need to create a test folder and a file with a correct name, and you need to remember how to write a test file. There's something called cds.test, but how exactly would I type it in? And there is cds add test, you guessed it, for you available. So that would create for every service that you have one test file, and within such a test file for one entity of yours, like a get call with some assertions, and for each action that you have there, one test file as well. It's not complete, of course. It's meant for you to now change it and start massaging it so that it fits your needs. And you could, if you have installed the dependencies, then also run it. By the way, what we also do, we install the dependency for you out of the box, and we also give you a test script. You see now we're using the node runner. So there's a built-in node, a test runner inside Node.js, in case you didn't know, and you can just call it out. And it would run your test, running the server log, giving the server log, and you see it runs the test. It's red. It's not too bad that it's red, but let's really quickly fix it. I think the default book is that one here, and I think it's weathering. Yeah, Copilot is here. That's good. Let's also fix it over here real quick. Maybe not doing the title assertion, and also referring to that book and having quantity of 2. And that should actually get our test green for the moment. Yes, so it's green. Also visually you see it, but it's still, this output is a bit cluttered, right? Even for a positive green test, that's the default test report, as they call it in Node.js, right? It's standard. I think it's called tab, or I don't know the exact name, but it's still a bit cluttered for my liking, our liking. So what we've come up with is a test reporter, not a complete new test runner, but just a reporter on this Node test runner that is behind that CDS test script, and it runs your test like that. Okay, so it's a much nicer, I think, experience, less clutter. In case of errors, you still get the errors, but for the positive things, it's and you don't see the server output by default, but you can just unmute it, and it will give you the server logs again, right? So in case you want to use it, it's still like an experimental thing that test reporter. Just try it out. It's in that CDS package, so no new things to install. It comes with that CDS test package that we, by the way, have open sourced. So in case you like want to contribute here, fix bugs, it's there. Okay. So that is CDS test. Let's now stay at the quality side of the house for a moment, and maybe talk about linting. There is. Let me demonstrate that by copying over. I guess I have some sample code here. Some magic handler code that looks similar but has some hidden bugs. And these bugs can actually be discovered by a static linter here in the JavaScript file. So why not add cds add lint? That will give you that package here, and you just need to enable the configuration. Let me copy over that one. That's a bit tedious to type, that's why I'm copying over. So it's basically, since ESLint 9, the configuration business has gotten a lot better, it's cleaner. Also install that, by the way. I always keep forgetting that. And the new thing here is we have a configuration for JS files, right? So we have some rules for JavaScript available. And now I think we need to restart the ESLint server once. Yeah, and lights turn on, red and yellow. So let's go through that. So it has now detected some flaws. The first flaw here, let's hover over that, was libql, whatever, is a deep import. A notorious, infamous source of errors, source of fragility. Don't ever do that. Don't ever import from any package, made reCAP or whatever, into your project any implementation files. This is likely to break, right? Your only ever API facade is that one. Then you can use whatever is available here in that API facade, right? But never import implementation files like that. Unfortunately, IDEs tend to do that as well automatically without you even noticing, right? You just like type whatever update in that case, and it at the top of your file, it will import that thingy here. And maybe it doesn't hurt, but in the future, chances are that this will break. Yeah, and that will lead to an error, so to say. So the fix here is to just not use that one, just use the standard update global thing, right? But of course, you need to know that. I think there's also a CDS QL update thing available, yeah, here. So that's what you can also use, but in that case, stay with the global one. What else do we have? Let's look at that one here. It looks actually quite okay. That's similar to the line that we had in the original version, but if we hover over it, assignment to a non-local variable inside a CDS event handler. If you look closely, that book thing here is not a let or const, but it's defined over here, outside of the event handler scope. And even worse, it's then also accessed here in a different event handler. That is the road to hell. Right? So never do that. Never, like in an event handler, store some state outside of your event handler and then use it somewhere else. This may not work. It may lead to tenant level isolation breaks because you're storing tenant specific data and then accessing from another tenant. You know, this is really bad. But it happens. We have been reported exactly that pattern. That's why we've written that rule here. So the fix is to use a local variable, as always. That is config. Never do that thing here. And here it's the request thing. So that's how you fix it, right? Always stay local in your scope with your state, so to say. Otherwise, if you feel like you have to manage state, please ask yourself, why is that? Yeah, why do you do that? There's usually some reason behind that. Okay, the last thing I wanted to highlight here, that query here, it actually also looks quite okay, right? but still it complains. It says, do not use select parentheses string, which is pro to SQL injection. This is your entry door to SQL injection, because that ID variable here comes from a request data, comes from a request, and an attacker might inject something malicious here. What the author actually meant is that, which is something different. Okay, so because the previous pattern means the string is computed before and then passed on to the select, and the select just executed. It has no chance whatsoever to validate. That thing here is basically passing on the string and the parameter separately to the select clause. By that, the select can still validate. Okay, so either use that pattern or the classic, so to say, Fluent API that you see here, right? But never use use that one here. Actually, in some version, we should maybe just deprecate that thing and not override it all. Okay, so but yeah, that's the first set of rules that we provide for JS. There's more to follow. I just learned from the colleague that they had just yesterday added one more rule, and we keep on adding these rules specifically for JavaScript, TypeScript also, because we found there's quite some potential in there. The other thing that we want to do, that we want to start off, is using AI to help us create those rules. Because what we found, actually, it's quite hard for developers, for experts, also for the community to write these ESLint rules. And AI can help us there with giving, hey, this is the previous state, this is the target state, and a little description, and the AI machine will spit out an ESLint rule that just does that, what we've specified. And this is where we want to invest here also, to give you more of these rules. All right, so that is linting. What's my time? Okay. Linting real quick. Now there would have been a REPL part, but I spare you that because DJ's agents had a whole session about REPL, I think 2:30 this afternoon. So really check it out. It's really cool. So in case you don't know REPL, it's a very interesting thing. Next one is real quick TypeScript land. Let's create another CDS project for TypeScript. Yeah, so here it's TypeScript, right? Again with tiny sample. By the way, the order of these things, of these add things, doesn't matter. They will reorganize themselves in the correct way. So you can type it out in any fashion you want. And then let's open that thing here real quick. And of course install it, otherwise it wouldn't work. Let's do that. And while it installs, let's open up the TS thing here. And usually if you turn on these TypeScript things, it's often like quite red because then it hasn't installed the types yet, etc. And the usual thing that happens is also that line here turns red. Probably now it's red. Why? Because the model files generated by CDS typers are not yet there. And no one has yet run TS typer. And that's often the fact that we got reported, hey, all my model is red or my code is red. Why is that? I cannot work. CDS watch fails, etc. Let's see what CDS watch does now. It will not only successfully run your project, but it will also fix your project. Now, this seems magic, but the only thing that we do now, when we detect there is no CDS model fault, we automatically call out CDS typer automatically for you, so that you get an error-free workspace, but also CDS watch runs initially without any issues. Okay, so no more need to remember the CDS typer.star or star thing that you need to type out before. And you see we have successfully picked up your TS file. By the way, there's also no need to use TSX anymore or TS watch, whatever. TS watch detects it automatically that this is a TypeScript project and will run it. The other thing, CDS builds will also run typer automatically as part of that build task, so it would also create that gen CDS models folder here for you. So quite some nice integration, I guess. All right, so that's a quick run through TypeScript land. Apart from that, we're constantly adding new types and also based on your feedback that we got. Next up is CDS debug. Just typing in that, and it runs CDS watch, but what it also does, it connects, or it basically enables debug mode for the application. You see that here, debugger listening. So what you could do here is just attach from your IDE, maybe VS Code, maybe IntelliJ, to your node process in that case, and then do the usual thing. You might ask, hey, has that a value? Because I usually use my integrated debugger in the IDE. That's true. That's not that much of a value. But what is cool, though, that if you give an application name, like the S-Flight service here, that will look that up in either Cloud Foundry or Kubernetes if you have deployed and if there's an application with that name on your current space. It will find it, it will open an SSH tunnel, it will put the application in debug mode, open Chrome tool, and here you are. Okay? You can set your breakpoint, and I've happened to have opened the application here, click, and you're there. Okay? And thank you. So kudos to Steffen, who has implemented that in the audience here. The cool thing also is you don't need an IDE workspace setup. So that's usually, like, I would call it ad hoc debugging, right? You know your application, you have access to the deployed application, but you haven't set up your IDE. You, for instance, are not sure which specific version of the application was deployed there, so you're not sure which commits to check out in your IDE so that it really matches the source code. This cannot happen here because that Node.js block, and it's actually even TypeScript sources that it has fetched you, comes from the debugger, from the application, through the debug protocol. So it always matches to the deployed version of the application, right? There cannot be any mismatches here. And you've seen that it also knows that trick about actually a JavaScript file is running, but it presents you the TypeScript file, right? Because the source maps also got deployed, and it will just like do the recomputation into the TypeScript world, right? So that's quite cool. That's a feature that is only available for Node.js so far, not for Java, because in Java there is no sources available, etc., etc. But at least for Node.js world, I think it has some value. And it also, by the way, avoids you to remember what exactly it is you have to type in to open an SSH tunnel. Yeah, that always freaks me out. I can't remember the syntax, so that's why. It's like the CF enable SSH, CF SSH, and whatever, you know, all these details that are hidden behind CDS debug. All righty, CDS up is next. What if I want to deploy the application? Usually I would do the CDS add MTA, right, and then I would do the mpt builds, right, and then I the cf deploy. And for Kubernetes, it's completely different because there you need to create Helm charts, you need to containerize the application, push out the containers, what have you. I can even still, I even don't know the exact commands. So CDS up does that for you. Okay. It will basically create, if you have, have installed all dependencies, it will automatically create the MTA if it's not there. It will do the MPT builds. It will do the CF deploy. And if you tell it that it's Kubernetes that you're targeting with --2, it will also do the same for Kubernetes. You see that these commands in blue, CDS builds, and after that it's CF deploy, right? So, and that CDS up is like inspired from like Docker Compose up, bring my application up. That's like the thing that we borrowed there. And I think it's quite neat because you can, of course, script all of that in your application with some NPM scripts, yes, but I think it's nice to have that out-of-the-box experience here. Let's not wait for the application here. I think you get what I mean. One more thing before we come to the one more thing, and my guest speaker's already prepared. CDS add, now, because the next step is, okay, I've deployed it locally, would be cool to have some CI integration, right? But how do I get CI? I know it's GitHub, yes, my project is on GitHub, there's GitHub Actions, I know that, but what exactly is the template, and how do I need to change the default template of GitHub to match my application? CDS at GitHub Actions. Not yet released, so we're still started implementing that. What that would give you is a GitHub folder with 2 workflows, one for testing, really simple install, and here we meet our generated tests, and one for CF deployment, which does the whole CF logging game. You just need to store these variables in your GitHub org or repository and installs. Here we meet our friend CDS up again, right? And then we do the CF deploy. That's the thing that alludes to the thing that Daniel has shown you earlier, where you have your GitHub project and you have that deployment section over there. And what that command that I've just shown you here gives you is that deployment, because GitHub knows about deployments, it knows that abstraction, and behind that abstraction is the URL to your application, right? It will also preserve the deployment log. So if you're deploying through GitHub, I also encourage you to use that notion of deployments. It's quite a neat thing. So we will do that for you here in an action that we just give it here in a project. And the other thing nice is CF info, behind which we just collect all the logs. We're retrieving the server logs, the DB deployer logs, the app router logs, and also for multi-tenancy, the sidecar logs, so that when the deployment fails, you can see what has failed in your GitHub deployment log, instead of logging into CF or the cockpit and to fetch these logs on your own. All right, I think I'm in time and ready to hand over to my guest speaker, Simon, because we have one more thing. All right.
Thanks. Okay. Let's hope that works. It doesn't. Perfect. One quick second, please. And we want to mirror. And yes, welcome to a short presentation about cappuccino. You might have seen the slide from Daniel with a little mug of coffee. And yeah, this is basically cappuccino. It's an effort from the new Potsdam team to improve the developer experience for CAP. We leverage all the awesome tools built by Christian and team and just put a UI on top of it. If you launch Cappuccino for the first time, it will automatically detect all the CAP projects you have running on your machine. So if I were to start, for example, the bookshop here again, it will start up normally. Then it will take a couple of seconds, and now you can see here that the Campfire bookshop also came up in Cappuccino. And I think for this demo, since Christian showed the CDS up command, it does make sense to also show the deployment from Cappuccino. You have the big blue button here, and that will basically open a wizard to help you deploy your application end-to-end to BTP. You have a login button here to authenticate, and then you directly jump into a account selection dialog. So here you can see we loaded your global account, your SAP account. There's also the whole list of global accounts and SAP accounts you have access to. You can specify favorites, of course, which are then auto-selected. And let's choose that account, which is a completely fresh account I've created 5 minutes ago. So there's no CF on there, no entitlements, no nothing. And that is also reflected here. As you can see, Cloud Foundry is marked as missing. That's no issue for Cappuccino, though. We can just create the CF space directly out of Cappuccino. So let's put in a little name here, some numbers so it's unique, and click the Enable Cloud Foundry button. And now in the background, we are talking to the BTP, configuring your account, setting up the CF space, CF organization, with best practices, and basically just like that, you have enabled Cloud Foundry in your account. You then need a space. You can create that within Cappuccino as well. So just give it a name with a typo, of course. Click continue. And now the space is created as well. If you were to have multiple spaces, you'd see them in here. And yeah, now you're basically done. You have Cloud Foundry enabled for your account. And now we just have the pesky BTP entitlements. I think everyone who worked with BTP knows that the entitlements are quite a pain. You often forget some, and then you have to deploy again since the entitlements are missing. And what we are doing here, we're doing a black screen, I guess. We are checking the MTA that has been generated by CAP, extracting which services are required by your application, and then comparing that to what is available in your sub-account. And as you can see here, Cloud Foundry and HANA Cloud is missing at the moment. So we just click the Assign Quota button, and now we have all the entitlements available in the sub-account as well. Plus, we also noticed that you want to use an HDI container. So we also checked if there is a HANA Cloud instance. Since this is a new account, there isn't one. So you can also create that from within Cappuccino. Give this one a password, and then click Create Instance. And yeah, this will now take a while. As you can see here, it's being created. You will get a notification once it's done. So there will be a system notification that the HANA database has been created. For the demo, we just continue here. And then you are basically handed over to the CDS up command. So you have this little copy button here. One nice thing, I guess, to show, if I look at my machine at the moment, I hope you can read it, my CF is not logged in. If I copy the command, though, it will, in the background, authenticate my CF. So basically, my CF is now authenticated. I'm in the account I just created in the space with the typo. And I have the CDS up command copied to my clipboard. So I can just execute that and continue with the CDS up command. Or if I don't want to do that, I may have not the CF CLI installed. There is also a in-app deployment. So you can just click here, and then we ship the Cappuccino binary with CF and CDS binaries. And then that means you can deploy directly from within Cappuccino without installing anything on your machine. It will now go through the CDS up command. And yeah, we do have only a short time slot here. Thank you, Christian. If you want to join us later at 5 p.m. in the yellow room, I think, there will be more. There is more to Cappuccino. There is a whole monitoring aspect which we haven't talked about yet. So please join us at 5 p.m. to see more about that and how Cappuccino can also help you monitor your applications in multiple environments. With that, back to you, Christian.
Thank you very much. I guess we have time for 1 or 2 questions. So if you feel the need for any questions, otherwise you can reach us at 12 at the experts area also. Yeah.
You are aware that developers do not have full access on a BTP account?
Yes. I mean, the Cappuccino you've just seen, we're in a very early stage, and it's a technical demo as of now. We are currently evaluating how we can facilitate the different personas on BTP with limited access. We try to allow you as much as possible with your account. Some stuff might not work, but we are definitely looking into that and checking how we can make it usable for the most amount of people possible.
Well, it looks super promising. I'm really a big fan. Just one more question. Behind the scenes, it still uses MTA configuration?
For Cloud Foundry, yes. You might have spotted the Kuma thing with the coming soon tag. That, of course, then would use Helm charts. But for Cloud Foundry, we are using MTA.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome.
Question over there, the gentleman.
Thank you for the talk. For the CDS up command, is it possible to manipulate the deploy parameters like the by default, I think it's retrying 3 times and then even not aborting the process, but letting it in the deployment state. And at least for us, it's most of the time we remove that stuff to say, okay, don't retry it 3 times and just throw it away once it is.
I'm not sure about which parameters you're talking about. It would be interesting to know. And at the moment, it's not available to pass through any of these. But of course, we could add that if you happen to use a default set of diverging parameters, just let us know. Maybe just afterwards, you can take a note of that. Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Cool. Any more? Yeah, one more. Just one more. Last one.
I like the improvements of the tooling. CLI, the CDS debugging, very promising. What I'm still missing today is when you have a connection from, let's say, from your CAP to an external service, which is on premise, maybe behind the VPN. You still need like this local app router. But if you deploy to a work zone, you don't need that app router, so it's purely for local testing. And that's something I would like to see inside the tooling.
You mean for like authentication?
Yes, principal propagation for local testing, like in the hybrid testing. You don't have this at the moment, and I think the tooling you have and show is really nice, like the debugging, but that's still something I'm missing today.
Yeah, okay, that's a good thing. Yeah, every once in a while we also stumble over that on our own, but not yet have found the time to add it. Maybe let's talk afterwards what exactly it is that you maybe want to have there. If you have concrete ideas, then we can discuss that.
Sorry, one more thing. There is a UI5 plugin that comes with it, but it doesn't work with hybrid testing. So, yeah. But I can show you afterwards.
Yeah, would be interesting to know. Thank you. All right, so I think let's call it a session. So thank you very much. Hope that was kind of useful for you, and have a nice recap.
Thank you.